My name is Jeff Morgan, and I want to talk about a case that has been docketed in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. One of the cases that I think is actually perhaps the most important case that the Supreme Court can ever hear, and that pertains to the issue of unilateral no-fault divorce. Now, if you look at President Ronald Reagan, who actually signed unilateral no-fault divorce into being in California, he said it was the biggest regret that he had in public office. If you talk with somebody like Governor Mike Huckabee, he said, Jeff, unilateral no fault divorce is the worst thing that happened to America. And unfortunately, 50 years later, we kind of like, well, it's no fault divorce. It's not a big deal. Actually, it is a big deal. No fault divorce is a marketing term. What it really is compulsory divorce, forced divorce, unilateral divorce, divorce on demand, divorce against which there is no defense, divorce in which a state always, without exception, 100% of the time sides with the petitioner. So, and this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about the case that we have right now that's been docketed. There's no guarantee that it's going to be heard. I think that usually there's about a 1 to 2% chance that all the cases that are in front of the court will be heard. But the fact that we actually have this in front of the Supreme Court of the United States, I think, is something that we're very, very excited about. We'd love to have other people participate in this. So, first off, if you go to the Supreme Court, www.supremecourt.gov, you can see that here we come to the United States, the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, if you go down under case documents and docket search, you can come down here and all you have to do is type in the word Pankoe, Pankoe. If you want to do Pankoe v. Pankoe, you can do that. Hit the search button. And what you have here, this is the docket. Ryan Pankoe is the petitioner versus Laura Pankoe. So once you do that, you're going to find the docket for 20-590. The title is Ryan Pankoe Petitioner versus Laura Pankoe. Now, if you take a look at this, and this is where I'm extremely excited about this. This was docketed on November the 3rd, 2020. The lower court was the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania in Harrisburg. It gives a court number and everything else. But here are the proceedings in the order. This, if you look here, this is the petition that was filed before the court. And everything is up here right now. So here, if you look at this, you can read through the entire petition. If you go back to the appendix will show you, well, it's the appendix of the case. It shows you some of the hearing that took place. It has a bunch of other stuff as well. The certified word count. I believe that the word count had to be under 9,000 words. So this contains 8,888 words. And so anyway, everything is fine there. Proof of service. The proof of service is that it's just exactly what it says right here. So in order to get a case in front of the Supreme Court, you've got to go through a process. You've got to go through various courts. And as you can see, the lower court here was the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. This has been in appeal for quite some time. And what he's argued is that what happened to Ryan was a violation of the Establishment Clause and also the due process. And there are other things that he argued as well. But to go a little bit into the mechanics, and this was something that we had to learn, and again, the person who wrote this learned all about this. We have to actually go to we went to the Supreme Court printing press in Massachusetts, sent them everything, and I believe there had to be 42 different booklets made up or pamphlets or whatever. There's a certain format that everything must be followed. The Supreme Court printing press actually knows what they're doing. We sent it to them. They formatted it. It's been delivered. I've got a couple of copies here. My friend Matt has a couple of copies. I believe Ryan has 1 or 2 copies. So we do have the copies. It's something that we're extremely proud of, and that it's actually gone to this level. Now, again, is this going to be heard by the Supreme Court of the United States? I don't know. Our hope and our prayer is, and it's something that I would hope that others would pray along with us and just talk about this, because unilateral no-fault divorce is one of the biggest problems that is facing our society. And as I mentioned earlier, Ronald Reagan said it was the biggest regret he had from public office. Mike Huckabee said it is the worst thing that ever happened to America. And there are many other things that come along with that as well. But I just want to let you know that you can actually look this up. Once again, if you go to the Supreme Court, go to the supremecourt.gov, go under case documents, docket search, and go down to Pankoe. And obviously I've looked for this a few times, Pankoe or Pankoe v. Pankoe. If you want to do Pankoe by itself, that's fine. That should come up. and once again you look at the docket, you can see what is presented in front of the court. Now, one of the things that I found very encouraging is that the people at the Supreme Court printing press, they read it and they said, this is a very, very intriguing case. They would like to see the Supreme Court hear it. And one of the things that the Supreme Court wants to look at is, does this have, how applicable is this? Now, the issue of unilateral no-fault divorce actually is applicable not just in the state of Pennsylvania. It is something that is applicable to all of the United States of America. Because right now, every state in our country, every single state, including the District of Columbia, has some form of no-fault divorce. Now, I believe that there's 2 states that it has to be by mutual consent only, but in every other state, it's unilateral no-fault divorce. One person can initiate divorce for any reason, for no reason. They can make up a reason. And by the way, if you go back a little bit into history, this is exactly what Vladimir Lenin did when he took over Russia, when the Bolsheviks took over, and he imposed unilateral no-fault divorce because he wanted to destroy society. He knew that if you destroy the family, you can destroy society. And if you break down the family, you are more likely to actually impose a new order upon that society. When he put unilateral no-fault divorce into operation in Bolshevik Russia, he did 2 things. He took marriage away from the church and he gave it to the state. So he weakened the church, because the church used to be the ones who under which divorce, the jurisdiction of divorce was given, because they were the ones who actually presided over marriage. He took this and he made this a civil matter. He weakened the church. But the second thing is, with unilateral no-fault divorce, there was no defense. There was absolutely no defense to a divorce lawsuit. So what we have in the state of Texas, for example, and almost every single state in our country, we have taken Vladimir Lenin's divorce doctrine, this communist divorce doctrine, and we have put lipstick on this pig, and that's what we now have. We've somehow thought that by maybe, we're going to make this better. Maybe we can improve this, because that's the American way. We take something and we improve it. You cannot improve something which is fundamentally unjust. You cannot put enough lipstick on a pig and somehow transform it into a princess. A pig is still a pig. Unilateral no-fault divorce is still unjust. It's tyrannical. It's destructive. And unfortunately today, too many people don't look at it in that light. In Texas, where I am and where I've been arguing for the repeal of unilateral no-fault divorce, in the Republican platform, we actually have a plank in there calling for the repeal of unilateral no-fault divorce, and also to support covenant marriage. Covenant marriage would be to allow those people who want to get married in a church situation that ability, that the state could not violate a church sacrament or a church ordinance and destroy that marriage, destroy that family. When you enter into marriage, for most people, it is for a lifetime. That's what they want. They want to be able to say, I am going to marry this woman, I'm going to marry this man. We together are going to raise our families. What's happened because of unilateral no-fault divorce, the state has said, your marriage has absolutely no legal protection. Oh, we pretend that it's a nice, honored institution, but we will not defend it, period. There is no protection for the state of marriage. And what that does, it creates divorce on demand. What it also does too, by creating unilateral no-fault divorce, it says that parents are not important. It says that, anybody who files for divorce gets a divorce, and that one parent in almost every instance becomes a primary custodial parent. The other person becomes basically a visitor who has to pay child support in that situation. This is a gimmick. The state should be convicted of fraud because of what it's done. They have used the divorce code to plunder people. The divorce attorneys who always say, well, we have to have no-fault divorce for family violence or something like that. Family violence is a fault-based issue. If no-fault divorce lets a violent perpetrator off the hook, and the divorce attorneys know this, but they don't care, because for them, no-fault divorce makes them money. For the state of Texas, it also makes them money, because they assign child support and they get federal matching funds from Title 4D, which again, this is something that the state of Texas does very well. Just recently, last week, Attorney General Ken Paxton put out a brief that talked about how great Texas was at collecting child support. $4.8 billion, I think they received in child support collection. But in many instances, what has happened is an innocent person, a person who did not want a divorce, period, who wanted to be with his or her children, period, has to pay child support, or some people call it the extortion payment to the state. Because if you don't pay this, you can be thrown into jail. The state somehow thinks that it has the ability to destroy a marriage on demand for any reason, for no reason, and then punish you, often the innocent spouse. And if you can't pay, they have all sorts of things against you. And they talk about this being the best interest of the child. So the best interest of the child in almost every instance is to be raised in an intact family with his or her natural mother and father together, working together. Will a mother and father have differences? Absolutely they will. Are a mother and father different? Absolutely they are. They both have a contribution to make to the children's upbringing. By the way, marriage is for children. Marriage from a societal point of view is what binds a mother and father together to raise a child. If you want to just have people going around impregnating people and having orphans and stuff like that, which, by the way, Bolshevik Russia actually experienced, and that's what caused them to say, what do we do about this unilateral no-fault divorce thing? We have not yet come to the wisdom that the communists had. We actually keep trying to defend unilateral no-fault divorce. And that's why, for me, I'm very happy. I'm thrilled, actually, that this has gone to the United States Supreme Court. Our hope and our prayer is that it will be heard. If you read through the petition, again, if you go to the docket search, look up Pankoe, look at the petition, I believe the petition is written very well, and it's very easy to follow, to say that you would come to the conclusion the state is actually granting a divorce not on any misconduct by a spouse, but basically because that's what one person wants. The state will always, without exception, 100% of the time, side with the person who wants a divorce, and that is a great evil. And then they talk about taking care of children in the best interest of the child. The state is lying. It's completely fraudulent. And so that's why I'm hoping that this case will be heard. This, again, has application to people throughout the United States. I'm going to go so far as to make a stretch that almost every single person in the United States has been affected by unilateral no-fault divorce. Maybe you yourself did not go through one, but maybe your children did. Maybe a friend did. Maybe a family member did. Maybe your children are going to marry somebody who is the product, a child of divorce. This is a pervasive cancer in our society, this divorce culture. And it was actually something that was forced upon us. People were not saying, we need more divorce, we need more divorce. We need the state to always side with the person who wants a divorce. We need the state to incentivize divorce for the destruction of the families. This is nonsense. It's garbage. This needs to be opposed. And again, I hope that this upcoming court will hear this case. I'll talk a little bit more about it in the next video and also in the video after that. I may do a third video as well, but we'll see. But just wanted to present the case in front of you right now. Thank you so much for taking the time and listening. Thank you.